How y'all doing out there? Left Lane here. Come make another video. I've been saying since last week that let me take this gun out. That I'm going to be doing a review of Jeremy Pruitt at the hire of Tennessee football program. And I wanted to make sure that I had all my information correct before I came and made this video. Well, here it is. Here's the video. Oh, that's January 2nd, by the way. 2018. I didn't do it at the beginning. Stuck here at the shipper. I ain't even got a door yet, so they're having to send someone to relieve me. But anyway, just kind of an overview of who our next head coach is going to be, what he's done previously, and what I think he's going to do. So here we go. He was born, Jeremy was born May 28th, 1974, in Rains, Alabama. He played his college football, the beginning at MTSU, Middle Tennessee State University, and he got his start his head coach at MTSU was Boots Donnelly, legendary coach over there. And in his sophomore season, he transferred to University of Alabama. Then in 1996, he participated in the 1996 he participated in the Outback Bowl. I don't know why I'm having so much problems. Yes, I was right. It was the 1996 Outback Bowl. I believe that's the longest running sponsorship for a bowl to this current day. Then in 97, he came on to Alabama as a graduate assistant. Now, following that, from 98, I think 99, he went to West Alabama for a season. Also, I want to note that during his freshman year at MTSU, going into his sophomore year, he transitioned from quarterback, which he was recruited as, to defensive back. That's a big thing because, I mean, that's who he is. He's a defensive guy. Now, from 98 really up until 2003, he had several stops along the way. He had been at a few different high schools. And then in 2004, he was hired at Hoover High School in Hoover, Alabama, where he coached under his dad. And then they won state championships in back-to-back years in 04 and 05. And he was there 06 and he ended that in 06. So then in 2007, he was hired at Alabama as the player development. Director of player development, excuse me. He served on that for 3 years. Then in the beginning of 2010, he stepped up as the defensive backs coach. He led the SEC in the passing efficiency that year. And also in 2011, they led the SEC in passing efficiency and yards per game. You know, the least amount of yards given up per game in the SEC. He was Recruiter of the Year in 2012. That's a big honor. I mean, that shows you that he can recruit and he can bring guys into Tennessee. And then in 2013, he left to go to Florida State, where he was only there for 1 year, but that was the year Florida State won the national championship. That was the last BCS national championship. We started 2014 and implemented the playoff system. And they had the number one scoring defense that year. 12.1 points per game was all they gave up. Had the number one overall defense. 2014 he rolls around. He goes to Georgia and took them from mid-50s defense to top 20. Took them all the way to number 17. But also not only that, but brought them into the top 10 in turnover margin and passing yards allowed. They were in the top 10 in the nation. And then 2015, they brought that defense to up to number 7, a top 7 defense in the nation, and fewest pass yards allowed per game in 2015 with Georgia. Then in 2016, he returned home to Alabama as the defensive coordinator after Kirby Smart left for Georgia. And led them to the highest, the least amount of points scored per year. The highest, I don't know why I keep wanting to say highest. But the nation in scoring defense in 2016, and second in total defense. And he followed that up with 2017. He did the same thing. Second in total defense, first in scoring. Folks, do you see a pattern here? His first defensive coordinator job was Georgia. Took them to 17th, then to 7th. No, first coordinator was Florida State, excuse me. But took them to number 1 in defensive scoring. Took Georgia from mid-50s to top 20 and then to top 10. Then, back-to-back years, best scoring defense in the nation. Do you see a pattern here? It's not just, you can say, oh, well, it's Alabama, they have the players. No, Alabama didn't have the best scoring defense. I said, look what he did at Georgia. I mean, Georgia had great defenses that year. This is a defensive-minded coach. I think and that's something Tennessee has needed for a long, long time. And then on December 7th, 2017, Jeremy Pruitt was hired as the head football coach at the University of Tennessee. But he was going to finish out the season, the playoffs, with Alabama. And I got to give the guy credit for that because, he's finishing what he started. And that's the kind of coach that I want. I want a coach that's going to finish what he started. And the reason I think it's a good hire, we need a defensive-minded coach. The teams that are winning championships in this league are playing defense. Alabama, Auburn, LSU. They're some of the top defenses in the league. We're not winning championships. We're struggling to get to a bowl game every year. So, for them to hire a defensive-minded coach, I got to give my hats off to Fulmer because he knew what he was doing with this hire. Not only can he do that, but he can recruit. And it's not all about having the best recruit. We seen what having the best recruits can do when Jones was here. And I said I was going to touch on that. I really don't want to because I need to prepare myself for that. Because that's going to be a separate video in itself. I'm going to get into a lot of details on that. And I don't want to make a 30-minute video. So I want to just say I'll make a separate video for that. Maybe by the weekend. I don't want to interfere with the playoffs because this weekend is about the national championship game. So hopefully by Friday I'll have that game. I'll have the video up about Butch Jones. So anyway, but I think he has to have a great offensive coordinator. Not just coordinator, but running back coach, offensive line coach, receivers. Him is a good hire, but if we don't have a good offensive coordinator, we got to have guys. He's going to have a great defense. I get that, but we've got to have a guy in there at offensive coordinator that can mold these guys and develop these guys on offense. Because you have a defensive-minded coach, you need a good offensive coordinator to kind of rule, to mold these guys. So that's going to be important. How well the offense does. I mean, quarterback and offensive line was probably our weakest points last year. Yeah, we gave up a lot of yards, but I said we couldn't even get a pass off sometimes as soon as they snapped the ball in the backfield. So that's why Jeremy Pruitt's a great hire for this team. He's going to bring some of that grit back, some of that toughness that we've been lacking for quite a long time. With Jones, we played not to lose. And what do you do when you play not to lose? You usually lose. I want a guy that's going to go in and put everything on the table and go for it. And that's what we have with Jeremy Pruitt. He's a guy that's going to lay it all on the line to get the W, not sit there and play conservative and try not to lose. We lost so many games because of that in the last 5 years. We had leads, we gave them up. I mean, it makes me sick. So, enough about that. Like I said, this is a great hire. I think Fulmer is a great addition to being the head of the athletic department. It's good to be a volunteer again. Now, what that results onto the field, we don't know. We're going to find out come September and October. In October, you're going to have a pretty good idea where this team is. I think if he can take the players that are already here, that are already on campus, the sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and work with those guys, get those guys on board, we can win 7 or 8 games. But I say we at least make a bowl game. So there's my review. Like I said, look for the Bush Jones reason why that failed, and why he lasted as long as he did. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for being patient with me on getting this review up, on my thoughts on this. Thanks for watching. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll see you next time.